you came back from that, where were you in terms of
Coming back from Colorado,
yeah?
I was very marginally better. I was still going through my compulsion, still a lot of that fear and anxiety. It was a little bit better. Maybe it was because I was out of that setting, but I mean, my head was very much still below water, and I was still dealing with a lot of stuff there. I did have a better awareness of what I was dealing with,
Right.
but it just didn't do the trick. Like, we needed something a little bit more. One thing I kind of also want to kind of get across is like, you know, there's a lot of people, men specifically, like, you know, kind of like talking about like suffering in silence, like, you know, men are always like the head of the family, you know, taking care of everyone. I was being taken care of by my wife. Like, I was not strong by myself. I was in no place to, you know, take care of my family, and, you know, she took care of me, and like, if I didn't have her, if I didn't have like support, like I probably wouldn't be here right now.
When you talk about how athletes handle tough situations, I feel like we handle things a little bit differently than people who haven't been athletes, especially if you're talking about people who have been they've been professional athletes. Like, I just think that sometimes the way that we get spoken to, it works when we continue to be spoken to that way. Like, my dad played football in college, and I'm very used to like the very like tough love, hands-on, like, we're not doing this, we're getting through this, like, you know, that type of approach. And I feel like when he was in the facility, he was kind of getting coddled a little bit, and so it wasn't a bad thing. I don't want to say that in a bad way. I just feel like when he came back, it was like the things that he was saying, I was like, okay, like this wasn't working. Like, I don't think that the way that they were speaking about what you were going through is like the exact right approach. And I don't think we even knew what that looked like. But that was kind of when I was like, when I went to go, I told him, I was like, if this continues to go this way, like, I'm coming to get you, because I feel like the closer and closer he got to when he was supposed to come home, the worse his OCD kind of got, because it was lying to him about how we would be at home, what our expectations would be of him when he got home. I just felt like he needed a little bit more of like a push to continue to like get better, because it was one of those things where like we didn't want to gloss over it. We wanted to attack like the source of it. It's not like we wanted intense healing. We didn't want just like, oh, let me just learn how to get through life. We wanted to get to the root cause, and I just felt like some of the stuff that he was doing wasn't always getting to the root cause. And I'm a very impatient person, so it might just be like me and my experience, but that was kind of, I was like, I don't feel like we're getting to the bottom of like why this is happening, how we kind of fix it. I definitely feel like he was a little bit better, but I mean, we had our son's birthday party, and I texted my entire family, and I'm like, and his family, I'm like, he's still doing his compulsions. If he's talking to himself, just ignore it. Like, just let's not cause attention, bring attention to it. Just let him kind of do his thing. He's fine. But like, we just still needed a lot of support. And I felt like the support that he needed, he wasn't really going to get through the main things that we were already trying to do. And even when we were in Colorado, for the first couple of weeks for the first week we were there, meaning me and Wyatt, I would take him from his facility, we'd do dinner together, and he would not be able to function during dinner. And I would be like, this is not, like, you haven't seen us for days, you know, or like a week, and you can't even be happy playing with your kid on the floor. Like, this is not going well. And so when he told me, like, I think that I need to stay, I was like, okay, then you're going to stay, and we're going to, you know, continue to try to get this better. And so we were doing everything we could then. And then when he said, I think I'm going to stay even longer, I was not against that. I was against the way he told me about it, but I wasn't against the idea as a whole.
It didn't seem like I was really getting better. I felt like there were some things I still needed. Obviously, I was still being drawn to stay longer. Gaining more insight, I was getting lots of information, seeing how my OCD works, but there's still like that gray area that I wasn't able to, or this like block that was just really kind of just stopping me from really applying that and believing that. And like, there was just a mental block, like I couldn't pass it, and there was something that needed to hit it hardcore. And
yeah,
when I extended, I actually met someone there that did ibogaine. He mentioned it to me. I was like, yeah, actually I'm looking into that right now, and he really convinced me to do it. And that's God's timing too, you know, divine
because he
intervention.
was not supposed to meet that person. So like when he extended, that's when he passed at his mental health facility with this other patient. And so if he had come home, he never would have met this person.
How long was it supposed to be initially?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah,
30 days.
And you did 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up being 48 days, but
48 days. Okay.
And and it was so interesting because so my dad mentioned the Joe Rogan podcast to me, 15 minutes into listening to it, I was like, okay, if Braden's not better, this is exactly what he's doing. Like, I didn't even need to listen to the whole podcast because I was like, it just felt like the next step. I remember I was like desperate. I'm home by myself with my baby and he's asleep, and I'm having to do everything around the house, and I fell asleep on the couch and I like dreamt like Matthew 15:30, which I had never ever in my life had a dream like that. And it's a verse that talks about laying the sick and the broken at God's feet. And like, so basically I felt like God told me like, lay Braden at my feet and I'm going to heal him. And so it was one of those things where like, again, I'm impatient, but I felt so much peace in that moment when I felt like, okay, I can focus on this for the rest of whatever we have in store. So when I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, I had a consultation call with one of the facilities that's mentioned in that podcast. And that day is when Braden said, hey, I had a guy in here tell me that I should try Ibogaine. So it was not an accident. I think that I'd gotten in touch with the people at one of the facilities, and then Braden met this guy it's the same day. Like when he called me, hey, this guy did Ibogaine and he's saying that I should probably try it, and he was telling me his experience and it helped change his life. And so that's kind of when I felt like, okay, God's doing this like on purpose, like he's going to. And I think that that's what I mean by when I say like Braden, that guy's experience on Ibogaine was pretty intense. And when Braden was saying like he needed something to push through that block, I think that that's what he was feeling. And that's what I mean when I was like, when he was at his mental health facility, I feel like they weren't pushing hard enough to get through that block for him. And I feel like he needed like an extra little kick. And so I told Braden, I'm like, this is what's next. Like, if you are not better, like, I am also not a person that likes to run out of resources. And so when you're talking about like, we had tried everything, I was terrified to get to that place where he was going to come home, still be suicidal, or like really, really close to that. And I didn't have anything, like I don't like not having anything else to turn to. That was actually not an option for me. So I was looking for something else to turn to in case we got to that place, and we were at that place, and Ibogaine's what we turned to.
When did you ultimately you made the decision after that you're going to try this? When did you go?
I think flew to San Diego January 28th. Next day, they picked us up, some hotel. We drove to Tijuana, about 30 minutes. And I was there for 5 days. And yeah, I mean, it's a very put together operation, and, everything before, like we have coaching before we even arrive there, like weeks prior. Mine was kind of an expedited case, which was really cool to be able to get in. I wasn't supposed to get in until April, but look, something opened up, and, divine intervention. Ibogaine, when they tell you it resets your brain, when they say it resets your brain, like it legitimately resets your brain. So it's kind of like, imagine your brain as a ski slope, and you create all these grooves from all these trails that you're going, and they keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And those are the habits that we create. And over time, like, it's not going to be possible to create a new trail because that one is so deep. Ibogaine literally will clear off those, like, the receptors in your brain, clears them off, clears those pathways, and basically gives you a blank slate so you can actually create new habits now. And I mean, it detoxes your body. Like, you literally wake up the next day and it seems like you're learning to walk for the first time. It's kind of like you're a toddler. You're kind of like stumbling around a little bit. And like, that's like how much like it really resets your brain, because it's like putting everything back to like the factory default. You can feel it working through your body. You just feel this tingling sensation, and like there's like things that happen like with my body that it got rid of like certain pains that I was like dealing with, and it just like restores like all your hormonal levels back to the way they were. Because I mean, with like stuff like OCD and depression, anxiety, like you have like the serotonin in your brain is like, it's in an uptick where it's at abnormal levels that's causing that. And that's why people administer like, SSRIs basically to stop that flow of like the serotonin and kind of get back to normal levels. But when you come off the pharmaceuticals, then it goes right back to where it was. It only temporarily stops it. Ibogaine resets it to what the normal levels that was meant to be at. And so that's pretty cool that it does that. And that's why like a lot of the depression, anxiety, like it just plummets because it's gone. Like, because like when I first like did the Ibogaine, like I was 9 out of 10 depression, anxiety, and I was not in a good place.
When he was really struggling during season, it was those cycles, and he was not getting over them at all. I mean, they were just completely taking over our entire life, our entire house. And now if he's struggling, you can't even tell. I mean, even like I could notice when he came home from the mental health facility that he was still having his compulsions. And sometimes he'll just be staring off in space. I'm like, is he having his compulsions? And then, we'll have the conversation. He's like, no, I'm good. I just, I'm a little bit frustrated right now, but like I can manage it and I'm totally fine. It doesn't disrupt our life. And I just think that this is the version that God made him to be. Like, people have asked me, well, is he better than when he left? Is he the same? Is he back to normal? And I'm like, this isn't normal. This isn't back to normal. This is a very intentional version of Braden that he's never really been before. I just think that this is exactly who he's always meant to be and who he's always wanted to be. Like, I was really nervous at the Ibogaine. I didn't know if he was gonna come out of it and never want to play football again. I mean, I didn't know what it was gonna do to him or our family or change any of his intentions. And I think that it just gave us so much hope that, number one, if we're ever in that spot again, that's where we need to turn to, because I think that just solidified, who he is and who he's meant to be. And so I just have a lot of hope that we can continue to move forward, because he's set up such good habits now because the Ibogaine did break through that mental block.
It was something that I needed that I didn't know that I needed. It was that last ditch effort. And it's definitely helped me become who I was meant to become more and more every day. And the thing about this is, like, it hasn't been wearing off. And it's not something you need to continue to do. But it got stronger for me. Like, even as this day, like, I feel like I'm growing bolder. I'm more fearless. I have more trust. And it just feels like it gets better every day. And that's my experience. And, like, I'd say I'm a 0 out of 10 with the depression and anxiety. Like, I feel optimistic, like, grateful to, like, be a husband and a father again, to actually be able to go play football and actually enjoy it. Like, there's just a different perspective on life, and I'm really excited about that.